Namaskaram to everyone. My name is Sanjeev Raja, and thanks for tuning in to the first episode of the official Mridangam podcast. As many of you might know, this podcast consists of korves, patterns, etc., created by my guru Sri Melakaveri Balaji or myself. So let's get right to today's selected korve, this week's selected korve. And today we'll be covering a relatively simple but really very nice korve created by my guru. The korve is set to Adi Talam, from Samam to Samam, which means no Oedipus, and there is a version without variation and a version with variation, but of course I'll start with the more simple version. So here we go, here's the korve. Again, Retakale, Adi Talam, Chatusram, no Nade Bedam, anything, here we go. Tatarigum 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 dim dong dim dong dim dong tatarigum tatarigum dim dong dim dong dim dong tatarigum tatarigum dim dong dim dong dim dong tak dom tatiketa dom tak dom tatiketa dom tak dom tatiketa dom tatarigum tatarigum dim dong dim dong tatarigum dim dong dim dong dim dong tatarigum dim dong tak dom tatiketa dom tak dom tatiketa dom tak dom tatarigum dim dong tatarigum dim dong tatarigum dim dong tak dom tatiketa dom tak dom tatiketa dom tak dom tatiketa dom tak. So there's the korve. It is a 32 beat korve, so it comes to 2 ardhanams or 2 cycles in Retakale Adi Talam. So now I'm going to discuss some of the math behind this korve. So since it's 32 beats, it's a total of 96 beats when you play it 3 times, because obviously korves are played 3 times. And obviously there's the 2 sections of korves, the Purvangam and then there's the Uttarangam. And in the Purvangam, it turns out that we're playing the stroke tatarigum tatarigum tatarigum, and that turns out to be a 3-beat stroke, and we're playing it 3 times, so that's 9 beats. And then we have 15 points of not 15 beats, but 15 points of kadve in between each of those 3-beat strokes. So that means that we have 45 beats of kadve, and because we have 45 beats of kadve, that's going to be taken into account for our Purvangam measure. So and then 45 points turns out to be 11 1/4 beats. So we have 11 1/4 beats of kadve and 9 beats of the actual stroke. So then if you add those together, the Purvangam, it comes out to be a total of 20 1/4 beats long. And now the Uttarangam, which we already established the entire korve is 32 beats. So if the Purvangam is 20 1/2, the Uttarangam must encompass the remaining length of the korve. So it must be 11 3/4 beats long. So 11 3/4 beats, if you multiply that by 4, turns out to be 47 points. 47 points is how long our Uttarangam must be. And in the construction of our Uttarangam, we have to create, it's similar to the Purvangam. We have to have 3 sections with kadves in between. Except for the Uttarangam, we obviously don't have kadve at the end because you just end it. You just end the korve, or you go on to the next cycle of the korve. So that means if we have 47, we can split it into 15, 15, and 15, so that comes out to 45, and then we can have one kadve and then another 1 kadve. So that comes out to 2 points of kadve, so that fills up our entire 47. So then, how do we play 15? Well, 15 is just tak dom tatiketa dom. That's our korve, or I mean that's our 15-beat stroke. So, but I didn't say it like that. I said tak dom tatiketa dom tak dom tatiketa dom tatiketa dom tak dom tatiketa dom tatiketa dom tatiketa dom dom. Instead of saying 2 tatiketa doms at the end of each one, I did 1 tatiketa dom, then 2 tatiketa doms, and then 3 at the end. So I just averaged the 3 to make it a little bit more interesting. So that is the math behind the simple version of this korve. So now I'm gonna play it for you just to so you can see what it sounds like. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there is the corvée. I just played some variations of 5 at the end there, but you can play it simple if you want, just to get a feel of it, get a feel for it. So there is the simple version of the corvée. We'll now move on to a variation of this corvée that sounds a little bit more interesting, but is also a little bit more complicated. So I'll say that for you. So here we go. Tatarigum tatarigum tati tatarigum dim tang dim tang dim tang. Tatarigum tatarigum tati tatarigum dim tang dim tang dim tang. Tatarigum tatarigum tati tatarigum dim tang dim tang dim tang. Tak dom tati kita dom tak dom tati kita tam tati kita dom tak dom tati kita tam tati kita tam tati kita tam. Tatarigum tati tatarigum dim tang dim tang. Tatarigum tati tatarigum dim tang dim tang. Tatarigum tati tatarigum dim tang tag dom tati kita dom taga dom tati kita dom tati kita dom taga dom tati kita dom tati kita dom tati kita dom. Tatarigum tati tatarigum dim tang. Tatarigum tati tatarigum dim tang. Tatarigum tati tatarigum dim tang tak dom tati kita dom tak dom tati kita dom tati kita dom tak. Okay, so like I said, this was the variation of the corvée that I just said before. But did that make any sense? I mean, what's the math behind it, right? I can't just randomly make variations, right? So, this is what I did. So the first round of the corvée is the same as the original. It's just the same, the original version, no variation. The second round, what we're doing in the Purvangam, instead of having 15 corvées, we're doing 10 corvées. So instead of doing tatarigum 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 tam 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 and then doing that 3 times, we're only doing tatarigum 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 tam 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 tam. Like we're only doing 2 sets of the 5 corvées. So we're only doing 10 corvées. So, by doing that, we're taking away 5 corvées. But then we're repeating that 3 times, so we're actually taking away 15 corvées from the Purvangam. Now, of course, if we're taking away 15 corvées from the Purvangam, we must add 15 points to the Uttarangam to balance it out. So, how do we do that? Well, it turns out that this is how I did it. The Uttarangam was 47 before, right? But now it has to be 15 greater, which means it must be 62. So, for 62, we can do the same thing. We can have the 1 corvée in between, so that takes away 2. So we have 60. So we have to divide 60 by 3 to find 3 strokes that add up to 60, and we can make 3 20-point strokes. And it turns out that a 20-point stroke is ta ka dom ta di kita dom ta di kita dom. 20-beat stroke, 20-point stroke. Sorry. So that's what we're using in replacement of takadom tatikitadom tatikitadom. So instead of takadom, we're doing takadom, and instead of tatikitadom, we're doing tatikitadom. That's it. And also, just like before, I didn't play 2 tatikitadoms the 3 times. I did 1 tatikitadom, then 2 tatikitadoms, and then 3 to find the average of it. And then in the third round, we're only doing 5 kadves, so we're taking away 10 kadves each time from the original, or 5 from the previous. So it has to be 15 points longer than the previous one, and 30 points, and so 15 points have been taken away from the previous round, and 30 points have been taken away from the original. So let's look at it in the way that we're taking away 15 points from the original. From the previous one that we just did, the one that was 62. So if we took away 15 points, again, we have to add 15 points to the Uttarangam to balance it out. So 62 plus 15 is 77. So 77 is how long our Uttarangam needs to be for the third round. So 77, we do the same thing again, the third time we're doing this. 77 minus 2, because we have the 1-1 kadve in between. So that becomes 75. So now we have to find 3 equivalent strokes, or 3 average strokes, that add up to 75. So that 75 divided by 3 is 25. So we have to find 3 25-point strokes, So to find a 25-point stroke, we can just build upon what we did before. A 25-point stroke is ta dum ta ti ta ti kita dum ta ti ta ti kita dum. And so the first time we did tak dum ta ti kita dum. The next time we did ta dum ta di kita dum. And now we're doing dim tang dim ta di ta ti kita dum. So the kadve at the beginning goes from 3 to 4 to 5, and then the stroke at the end goes from 5 to 7 to 9, from tatikitadom to tatikitadom, and now finally to tatikitadom. So it's a very nice progression, and it works well. So the final, so the Uttarangam for the third part would be ta-ka-dom, ta-di-tatikitadom, ta-di-tatikitadom. And that, of course, like I said before, I will be playing it as tak-dom, ta-di-tatikitadom, tak. Dom ta ti ta ti kita dom ta ti ta ti kita dom ta dom ta ti ta ti kita dom ta ti ta ti kita dom ta ti ta ti kita dom tam, just to find the average of the 3 to make it more interesting. So now we have the variation of this kadve, and I'm gonna play this one as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there you have it. Both of the versions of this kadve have been played and said, and the mathematical derivation as well. So thanks for joining me today. If you have any questions, feel free to post comments below my video, and I can try my best to answer your questions. I hope it wasn't too confusing. Just trying this out, so hopefully it was good. And please tune in next week for another weekly podcast, and thanks for listening.